No.
Welcome to the My Haunt Life podcast.
Hello and welcome to the My Haunt Life podcast. I'm Mike.
And I'm Russell.
And Russell, I am so upset with the community right now.
In which way?
They all seem to like that lust sound effect. I just need to get that off my chest. Like I'm shaking my fist at you all that like it and want to keep it. So I mean, I said at first we should do a vote, and then
you definitively said no vote.
Yeah, but everyone disregarded that, and I guess we're keeping it.
Well, here's my thought. We don't have to keep the sound effect.
No, they like it.
Well, that was supposed to be a work in progress.
Well, you can tweak it until, okay, so we'll use it until you have another version, and then I guess we can do another vote.
All right, so we'll use it for now, but I don't know. I think as lust develops, we may have to revisit that sound effect.
Yeah, thank God.
My actual vision, I think, was just your voice saying lust.
That just sounds weird, man. So speaking of lust, a lot has happened this week. A lot has happened in the lust experience. Lust.
Oh, yeah.
I'm cringing.
I have mixed emotions over it.
I bet you do. This is your baby.
It's a work in progress. It's a work in progress. We'll revisit that.
Anyways, so going back to the last podcast, we talked about how Larry had this theory about an alternate universe and there were shadow people, and then he had a shadow Larry profile show up.
Mm-hmm.
Well, after we recorded, a fake Russell profile showed up, as well as a fake Lucas profile showed up.
Yes.
And Lucas is our friend from Chicago who brought popcorn and then had it thrown at him by the handlers in Ascension.
Yeah.
I just love that story.
Yeah, it's one of those great tension experience moments, I think. Him bringing a gift and having it literally thrown back in his face. Russell was misspelled.
Of course.
Of course. Russell. So, Mike, the one thing that I don't know many people know, and I thought this probably has no connection whatsoever, but Lucas and I both got shadow profiles very quickly right next to each other.
Right.
Lucas and I sort of did a haunt excursion last year as Ascension was running. I know there were some posts about it on social media and all that. So I was, because my first thought was, all right, why did Lucas and I get shadow profiles so quickly next to each other? And I thought, well, I was in Chicago and we haunted together, him and, our other friend Justin. We all went to haunts together. And so there was some social media. So I'm connected to Lucas a little bit more than some other people in the Lust Experience forums. I cannot believe that's a connection.
There's that overthinking brain.
Yeah, I think I'm overthinking it. But it did occur to me of like, oh, why Lucas? And then it was like, oh, well, Lucas and I...
Well, because he was talking on the forums.
Yeah.
I think that's it.
You look at everything so much simpler than I do.
I'm a simple person.
And I truly, truly wish I had your brain.
But here's the thing with those profiles. They disappeared relatively quickly. So it was probably someone playing a joke.
Perhaps.
That's what I think, because the other fake profiles, they stayed and they posted. And none of those profiles did not post anything, and they disappeared. But then a real fake profile, or a fake real profile.
A real fake profile?
A real fake or a fake real. A profile that wasn't set up by the person it depicts. How's that?
Okay, that works.
I'm not saying that every time. But and it was of Bryan. And Bryan we mentioned in the last podcast because he got calls in Austin about meeting Noah Sinclair. And so he had a doppelganger show up, and that doppelganger actually posted. And the thing is with these fake profiles, like with Larry's and now Bryan's and Clint's before it, they all sound like it could be them. Mm-hmm. Like they're really, really good. And Bryan said I mean, fake Bryan said, just to clarify a few points here, has anyone spoken to DLB or CS still? I get the feeling that what they say next may break out a story beat or two. After all, they were the ones that started acting strange in the first place. I'm actually really curious to go back and listen to their panel and see if anything stands out now with all these new developments. Hopefully I'll have something up real soon. There's so much background to that post, and it's crazy because Bryan moderated the panel at South by Southwest that fake Bryan is talking about, and there were issues with the sound quality, so they didn't have it up as fast as they thought it would. And I feel like this was a poke at Bryan, like, hey, get it going. We need to listen to this kind of thing, you know? And then he was talking about talking to Darren and how he kind of disappeared and Clint went off the radar with him and stuff. So these are all things that make sense to something that Bryan, real Bryan, would actually say.
Yeah, it's interesting. A couple of the fake things that have been used to put posts on the forums do come out very similar to the voice of the real people. And Bryan's definitely sounded like that, and that comes into play a little bit later, too.
So if that wasn't a fun enough day, then Lia gets a call from Sarah Sinclair, and Sarah Sinclair told her to keep Wednesday free. And I guess in the phone conversation, Sarah was reading the questionnaire back to Lia and was asking her questions about some of her answers, such as, did you answer this to be cute and witty, or do you mean it? An interesting thing that Lia mentioned was she was questioning the voice on the other end. Like, did it sound like a new voice, or did it sound very familiar, like Sabrina? So what if... Okay, so here's a crazy theory.
Go on.
So, we all know what the helmet can do.
Yes.
It turned Sabrina into Addison. Mm-hmm. What if, when she left the compound at the end, what if somehow she got taken again, got the helmet, and is now Sarah Sinclair? That could explain why she was getting headaches when she spoke to you at the book release party.
Wow. You see that happening over here, don't you?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, sometimes I listen to your theories and go, you're insane. But that's really interesting to me. Because, you know, I think people would listen to that and say, no, Sabrina drove off into the sunset.
Right.
And I think that's the biggest strike against this theory, but I think it's a valid theory. Because she was acting very strange that night, and we did see her present at a function where the OSDM showed up and displayed their power very aggressively.
And here's another thing going towards that. Whenever we saw Sabrina as Sabrina, t-shirt, jeans, you know, whatever. Every time we saw her as not Sabrina, she's wearing a dress. And she was wearing a dress at the book release party.
Yeah, she looked good.
The lust experience. Sound effect now.
I think I'm blushing.
It just got real awkward in here. But anyways, but she was wearing a dress.
Yeah, that's true.
And, you know, I mean, if you want to get into crazy things, you know, like, you know, Breaking Bad, they always had a thing with color and clothing and whatnot. Mm-hmm. What if this is something like that?
It's quite possible.
Yeah, something to think about. I guess we just hope for a phone call from Sarah Sinclair.
True.
I hope you get a phone call from Sarah Sinclair, just based on that, because you and Morgan probably know that voice better than anyone.
Yeah, probably. And I don't know where Morgan stands as far as, you know, Noah Sinclair's situation. You know, I'm one of the people I've never had a reason to get a phone call from, you know, the system or whatever. So I don't foresee that coming, but yeah, that's really interesting. And the fact that, you know, again, it's like at the beginning of Tension, we were always like, what did the voice sound like?
Yeah.
And we're doing it again this year. What did the voice sound like?
But that's what's awesome.
It makes
so
me
much
curious.
fun.
It makes me curious.
Because if we learned anything from Tension is that we have no idea what's happening.
Yes.
You know? So, I mean, right now, it's the very beginning of this. So, who knows how many curveballs they have.
Okay, speaking of curveballs, because like of all people, I'd be the one making sports analogies, right?
Of course.
Another shadow profile showed up, and this one had the name. We talked on the last podcast that like one of Clint Sears' shadow profiles that had the dash in the name. A shadow profile was formed with Russell Eaton, except the name of the profile was Mike Eaton,
Yeah.
linking you and me, Mike.
Yeah. And on top of that, the profile picture is both of our profiles put together.
Yes.
It's almost like a good and bad,
Stretched, warped.
like good and evil, because
Yeah.
your picture is pretty light and mine is pretty dark.
Yeah, it is. Just like us.
Yeah. Which, by the way, why are we the ones that get a shared profile? I want my own goddamn shadow profile. What the hell, man? Like, all these people get their own, and they, like, chintz out on us. It's like,
Oh, on you.
yeah, that's true, because you are Russell Dassey.
That's right.
Ugh.
No, and you know, and I got the weird shadow profile that vanished.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, man, you get 2 profiles, and I just get, like, lobbed onto one of them. Like,
Oh. It pays to be on the bright side of things.
we'll see.
Yeah, I have a feeling this is going dark. So this profile, Mike, actually posted.
Go on.
Yeah, it wrote, and the interesting thing is it sounded like me.
It really did.
Yeah, even I read it and I was like, "Damn, that's pretty good."
Because the funny thing is when this happened, we were at trivia,
Yes.
and we almost debated not going into trivia just to watch what was going to unfold. Because in trivia, you're not allowed to use your cell phones, obviously, because
right.
that's cheating. So it was like me and Chelsea and Debbie and Megan and Susie and Tom and Melissa, and like all of us were outside just like, refresh, what's happening? Oh my God, there's a Russell Mike profile. Like, oh my God.
And it's very funny because you texted me and let me know that it existed because I was actually at home editing the podcast. So, Mike, do you want to give an attempt to sound like me?
No, this is all you, man.
Okay, so this profile posted, and it said, all of this brings up a really interesting point, and I think that point is that if we started this whole thing looking at ourselves and we were tested along the way, then who will we wind up seeing staring back at us in the end? If Noah is tied to lust and he is now doing self-help, I just hope that he gets to what we really want. A mixtape. I know that for myself personally, I find that it can be a bit daunting thinking about all of the stuff the OSDM could throw back at us. Am I really ready to go through that? What will it feel like if we don't like what we see? Look at the guy's style. You know his stuff would be hot. Or actually, they draw little fire icons. I guess anything's possible, really, and that's what both terrifies and excites me.
You sold that so well.
It really whoever wrote that knows my voice fairly well because the whole thing of the opposites, it terrifies, it excites me. It was like,
Oh yeah, you said that.
that's me. That's very much me. And we should explain that this posting to the forum happened a day after you had done something.
Yeah.
Online.
Yeah. So I Facebook Lived me DJing. I'm a DJ in my past life, and I was bored on Sunday and decided to do a synth pop Sunday mix, like live on Facebook, vinyl only. But yeah, so I did like an hour and something mix,
And it was very good, by the way.
Thank you. But it's interesting that happens, and the next day they say Noah might want a mixtape. So what?
No, actually, it said we would want a mixtape.
Well, who's the we? Because I took that as Noah.
Well, it says if Noah is tied to lust and he is now doing self-help, I just hope that he gets to what we really want, a mixtape.
Oh, okay.
So I think you gave the community what it wanted. I think you gave, I think your synth pop Sunday was a gift to the entire community.
Well, I read that wrong, like I usually do. So
You read an email or a message wrong?
So
Wow.
I emailed Noah a link to that video saying,
Oh, that's
I
very
heard
funny.
you wanted a mixtape. Maybe you can use this as your opening to your seminar or
That's
something.
very funny.
But dude, can you imagine Noah starting his seminar with like camouflage playing or something? Like, how incredible would that be?
It would be freaking awesome.
Or he does like, okay, you know in The Office when they do the seminar and Kevin plays like Crazy Train and he runs around the room? What if he did that, but he did it to like Ministry or something? Like, oh my God.
That would fit.
That's
That
the
would
world
work.
I want to live in.
No.
But here's the funny thing. Well, it's not funny because it's probably just a misspelling, but we talk so much about OSDM. They spelled OSDM wrong.
Yeah.
They put ODSM. So maybe there's a shadow OSDM.
Okay. A shadow organization of a shadow organization?
Yes.
Interesting.
Which means it's real, right?
Stop it. Stop it. A reflection of a possible reflection? I don't know.
You know what a reflection of a reflection does, though? It's infinity.
Oh, that's true.
This is going on forever.
Okay.
I can just keep going.
All right.
But here's what's funny about the Shadow Russell / Mike or Mikey in account is that everybody started playing along and it's like, oh my God, then there's going to be a My Shadow Life podcast and a My Shadow Life this and that. And then they started having theories about like, you know, what we would be talking about and doing and stuff. And it was awesome.
It was very fun. It was
Yeah.
enjoyable to read what people were thinking.
Yeah, and then I feel like that led into another discussion of what people's shadows would be, and then
Yeah.
people started saying like, oh, well, in real life, I'm this or that, so my shadow profile would be this, this, and this, and so I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, definitely enjoyable read stuff. Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah. So we mentioned that Leah got a call from Sarah to meet on Wednesday. Bryan, the real Bryan, got a call from Noah to meet on Wednesday as well. So then there was all of this talk like, oh my God, are they doing this together? What's happening? Like there's going to be two people meeting with Noah, or is one person meeting with Noah first? And, you know, all of that thing. Like we have no idea. So the time comes. Wednesday happens. The meetings with Noah are afoot. And Bryan and Lia were talking and they confirmed, okay, I'm meeting at this time at this place or this zip code. And then here's the interesting thing. They each got different zip codes to head to.
Yeah.
So they were not meeting together. They were meeting separately. So who were they meeting?
Mm-hmm.
And the zip codes were not close to each other. One of them was in K-Town, or Koreatown, and one of them was in Silver Lake.
Right.
Right across the street from Epitaph Records, actually. So after each of their encounters, all of us are waiting by our computers and by our phones just to see what happened. They each do a Periscope. And seriously, guys, thank you for each doing a Periscope.
Absolutely.
Like,
Thank
that's
you very much.
Awesome. And we'll have the links to the Periscope so you can hear it. You can hear their experience in their words. So check the show notes for the Periscope links. And also we'll have links to all the threads that we mentioned and all of that too. So who should we start with? Because they're both freaking interesting as hell.
I would go with Bryan first.
Well, that just shows what a gentleman you are. I'm going to say ladies first.
Okay, go with Lia.
Okay, so Lia gets instructions to go to a bar in Koreatown. And she goes in and she sees Noah. So Noah is there with Lia. And there's a couple things of interest that stand out. He had a couple books on his table. And mind you, this table is in a bar, a public bar, and he just had books there. And there were books about quantum physics. Now, in the last podcast, we mentioned that Max got an email that led to a paper based on physics as well that had to do with reflection and all of that. And so now Noah has books that are going around the same topic.
And also, this plays slightly into Bryan's experience as well.
Yeah. So she meets him, sees these books on the table, and the way she made it sounded like he was flirting with her the whole time.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, not the badass he seems to be on the website. And she actually pointed that out. Like, you know, I expected to meet someone totally different. He was very nice and, you know, bought her a drink and all of these fun things that guys do to girls. They want to hang out with more at a bar.
Wow, that was so subtle and understated.
Yeah, I could have said a lot worse.
Yes, you could have.
But Noah started telling her stories. Like, he was telling her about his son's favorite story is The Boy Who Cried Wolf. Now, to me, and the way my brain works, okay, if we want to get to Noah, we get to his family. So we know he has a son. And where there's a son, there's a baby mama. Mm-hmm. So is Sarah Sinclair the baby mama? Or, ready for this? What if Michelle's the baby mama?
Whoa.
Yeah.
Interesting. I don't think we know enough about Michelle.
No, we don't at all.
Yeah.
But those are the only two women that we know about in Lust. And unless something's changed, it needs to be a woman.
I don't know. Michelle is so cold, chilly.
Well, here's the thing. Based on Bryan's interaction, Noah, we'll get to Bryan. This is a spoiler for Bryan's part that we'll talk about in a few minutes. But what if Michelle was that girl? What if Noah had a one-night stand with her, was like, hey, thanks, I'm done, see ya, leaves the room in a mess, leaves her there, ends up getting her pregnant, and that's the chip on the shoulder, and
So
she's trying to break down Noah.
You think Bryan might have met Noah Sinclair's daughter?
No. I'm saying just like as a what if that scenario happened to Michelle?
Oh,
And
got it.
ended up getting pregnant with Noah's kid.
Too many theories.
But that's what's great. Let me have this.
Go ahead.
But think about that. Think about the internal struggle. Like, what if she was just like, like, I'm not an attendant because we don't know, like, there's attendance, but what if she was kind of like some sort of understudy? Mm-hmm. He took advantage of her and, like, had a kid, and then she stayed in the organization and rose to power while they share this kid. And he's there, like, still, and that's why she's so pissed off at everything.
She walks around with a lot of anger.
Yeah.
She's got some issues.
Issues from a one-night stand and getting pregnant, and then the guy being a jerk to her? Maybe.
Okay, all right.
I don't know.
Legitimate reasoning.
It could work.
Yeah.
It could. Don't give me that look.
I'm just letting you spin over there.
I can't help it, man. It fits. That's what she said. Anyways, so then the waiter comes up to Noah and I guess tells him he has a phone call, but then he made a phone call on his cell phone. And at first, Lia didn't know who he was calling, mm-hmm. but it was very clear who he was calling at that point.
Right.
And it was Bryan.
Yes.
And I guess we'll jump to Bryan's part. I feel like we're like Quentin Tarantino of podcasts this episode. Cut to Bryan, Silver Lake. Exterior, siren.
The meeting place that Bryan had been given was in Silver Lake, and he was told to go to a market. And he was waiting outside the market, and apparently he was approached by, I don't remember the description he gave, but it struck me as a pretty brash homeless guy who was asking Bryan for money and got aggressive with Bryan, and then suddenly gave Bryan a hotel key and said that Bryan had 10 minutes and they needed to go to a nearby hotel and go into a room. The motel was apparently just down the block, and when he found the room and walked in, he said the room was a mess. It looked like there had been a tryst of some kind.
So sexy time happening?
Some sexy time happening, apparently. He said there was actually a used condom in the trash can. So what Bryan was doing looking through the trash can, I'm not sure, but...
Well, that was a clue. Why didn't he get it? I'm kidding. Come on.
Wow.
We've gone to too many blackouts.
Apparently. So, there was an iPad playing music, I guess, and there was the shower running with the bathroom door slightly open. And when he entered, and he said the room was actually unlocked, so he didn't even need the key. So his impression was that he just walked in on the end of some romantic evening for someone. And the woman was in the shower, so he called out, or she called out and said, "I'm in here." Somehow she indicated that Bryan should come into the restroom, and she was actually naked in the shower, and Bryan described that she had smeared makeup on her face.
I don't think it was that she smeared it. That's usually what happens when girls wear makeup and you have a passionate love affair.
Well, his description was makeup smeared across her face.
Yeah, I don't think that's from her hands. It's probably from another body part.
Okay. So I'm not going to jump to any conclusions. He described her as painfully thin, and he basically gave her a towel, and they went back into the room, and she started telling him the story of how this used to be thrilling. This sort of meeting, I guess, used to give her a thrill, but now she seemed very sad and lost, and Bryan said that he actually felt very sincerely his heart went out for her. And Bryan apparently said, "How can I help you? Do you need to get out of here?" He went to being the kind, generous person that we know Bryan is. And he was asked to sit down and, I guess, hold her hand on the bed. She was in a towel. Now, while they were on the bed, and she said that she, I guess she indicated he was helping her feel safe, she also indicated that she always felt that he was always watching wherever she was, and she felt that he could always see her. Bryan asked for clarification of whether that was Noah, but she didn't clarify. And she leaned in very close to him to tell him a secret, or like she was going to whisper something in his ear. And she said, "When they stop believing you, that's when you know it's begun." The phone rang. And when Bryan picked it up, it was Noah Sinclair, which means the phone call that you mentioned, Mike, that Noah made while in the conversation with Lia halfway across town, he was calling Bryan. That was the phone call Bryan got.
Yeah.
Now, during that phone call, apparently Noah was doing the macho guy thing and said, "Well, what's the woman like? What does she look like?" And Bryan didn't go there, apparently. And a picture was sent to his phone. And it was a picture of him with the girl on the bed, which means they were taking footage of him in that hotel room. And it was basically live streaming somewhere.
That's incredible.
This whole elaborate setup of the picture being taken, sent to his phone, these two sequences going on simultaneously, the intricacy of all this is mind-blowing.
But, Russell, why would he send a picture of him on the bed with a prostitute to his phone?
Well, Bryan's a married man. It's blackmail.
But why would he blackmail him?
Well, because Noah wants something.
What does Noah want, Russell?
Apparently, he wants Bryan to help spread his word, whatever that means. He used the word influencer, apparently, to describe Bryan. So he's in this situation where he stood Bryan up, and has stood Bryan up a couple of times. So Bryan, I got the impression, wasn't impressed with Noah Sinclair at this point.
No.
And now he's trying to blackmail him, and this from a guy who has an entire system about getting and taking what you want. So that was a little weird when Bryan described that. Why would Noah Sinclair need to do that?
See, that I don't know why, but it's just like that makes total sense to me. Because that's one of the things I mentioned in the forums. Like, you can't buy everything with money. So you need, if your whole system is to take what you want by any means possible, that's what he's doing.
Yes, and I think there's also possibly even more to it than that, Mike. What if Noah Sinclair is just a jerk and he thought it would be fun?
Huh? Yeah.
What if he's just sadistic?
If that's the case, I am so on Noah's team.
You're so weird.
To mess with people for fun? I do that to you all the time.
Yeah, you do, actually. But I never see it as sadistic. I just see it as you.
Maybe he can learn some things from me.
Oh. Apparently, Bryan had this realization, sort of like a realistic moment of, wow, they're actually talking about messing with my family for real.
Yeah.
And that's a level of mind game which, that's stepping it up a notch for the Lust experience.
Mm-hmm. They're starting off with a bang.
Yeah. It's
no pun intended.
Yeah. So the guy that apparently gave him the key burst into the room and Bryan took the girl's phone and got out of the room, and in the parking lot apparently received a phone call on that phone from Darren Bousman. And then Darren shows up, and Darren is flustered and apparently wants to know if Bryan or Noah or somebody is messing with him because he was in Panama. Bryan said he actually still had the ticket on him. So Darren Bousman is acting like he's also caught up in this weird night of bizarre encounters.
Right. Like in Clint, like, is Clint messing with me? Or have you talked to Clint?
That's true. He did say that. So Bryan and Darren agree to meet at a bar, and I guess they do talk a little bit about the whole situation. And Darren, I guess at one point accused Clint of messing with him, so that's a possibility because Clint seems to be out of town at this point, and we're not hearing much from him. Also, Darren admitted that somebody had sent pictures of him while he was in Panama, and he wanted to know if Bryan had anything to do with that, it seems. So it sounds like either Darren Bousman is playing the character of Darren being messed with within his own creation, or something really bizarre is going on.
There are no characters anymore.
And the theories are flying that this whole creation has been wrestled away from the creators.
Right. But here's the thing that I went back to. We had a nice, lovely gentleman last year, seemingly knowing when and where every get-together was and
Yes.
would burst in.
Yes.
How did Darren know where to be?
That's a good question.
So I think that someone is feeding him intel,
Right.
just like Tom Barrow.
Yeah.
And we saw what happened with Tom Barrow at the end. So I don't know.
Well, you saw what happened to Tom Barrow at the end.
Yeah. So I don't know. Like that's too coincidental for Darren to be at the hotel.
Oh yeah, it rang really oddly to me when I read that. So and when Darren and Bryan had gone to this bar to talk, one of the things that Darren had brought up was wanted to know if Bryan had noticed a book on a scale inside the hotel room. And Bryan had posted a picture of the hotel room, and there is a small scale, and apparently Bryan didn't notice any book. So where did that book go? How did Darren know about this book? Why was Darren asking about this book? Well, that ties into something later that happened.
Yeah, oh my God.
Because Lia had mentioned that Noah had books on the table when she met with him. And also, inside the hotel room, there was a container of orange Tic Tacs. And apparently, it has been noticed that Noah likes orange Tic Tacs. So, did Noah take the books from the hotel room? Was Noah the romantic tryst that this naked woman that Bryan encountered had? Is that how the whole setup for the blackmail got set up?
Wait a minute. Or was it Darren?
Wow. He was on the location right then.
Right? Oh.
Or was Darren there because somehow he'd been fed that information? Bryan is in the wrong place at the wrong time. Darren was on his way to confront the woman in the hotel room to get the truth of who was messing with him in Panama.
Yeah. Or Darren is trying to frame Noah by planting orange Tic Tacs and making it look like everything. Because how did he know about the book inside? So that means he had some sort of knowledge of what was in there.
That's true.
So is Darren trying to take down Noah by framing him somehow?
Possibly.
And using all of us as chess pieces? Or specifically Bryan that night.
Russell feels like pawn in the game of life.
Don't talk in third person.
So the end of the evening, I guess, for Bryan is that Noah called him, and that was when he said he wanted Bryan to help spread his message, that he was an influencer on the community, and indicated that he was looking forward to going deeper with Bryan, whatever that means.
Lust.
Oh.
I gotta make some puns.
I think
Come
that
on.
was psychologically speaking, Mike.
You have your theories, I have mine.
Now, Mike, something that hasn't quite been made public, and
You were the prostitute?
dun dun dun. No, I was not the prostitute. Bryan actually did the Periscope where he described gave a quick recap, and then he went on the forums and he gave a more detailed recap.
And he was super flustered.
Yes, he was, absolutely.
Like, you could see it in his face and hear
slightly
it.
angry.
Yeah, you could hear it in his voice.
Yeah. So the Periscope ended, and I hadn't had a chance to watch it yet, and suddenly I get a text, Mike, and it's from Bryan.
Okay.
And he said, "Hey, don't know if you saw the Periscope, but I wanted to tell you something." And I said, "Well, I'm about to watch it because I had theater tickets that night, so I was in a play when all of us went down." So Bryan texted me and he said, "There's something that I want you to know about the hotel room." Apparently, when Bryan first showed up and the woman was in the shower and said, "Hey, I'm in here," and asked him for a towel, and apparently at some point during that, she was surprised, of course, because she doesn't know who Bryan is. She was surprised that Bryan was there and not knowing who he was. Well, apparently, in her shock, she looked at Bryan and said, "Are you Russell?"
What?
And he told me it's like almost as if she wasn't not necessarily like expecting Russell to show up, but that she knew of a Russell and that he might be involved in something. And apparently she asked it a couple of times. Now, Bryan told me, he said, literally, I forgot, as I was talking on the Periscope, I forgot to mention this. And then when the Periscope ended, he reached out to me and he said, "You know what? It's your name. I just wanted you to know so you were aware of this." And he basically said, "Watch your back."
Wow.
So he wanted me to be aware that all of these shenanigans that were going on, my name somehow came up as like, "Oh, wait, are you Russell?" And then everything went down.
Wait a minute. Okay, so we mentioned earlier that Lia got a phone call and it sounded like a familiar voice, like it could have been Sabrina, who we may... A theory could be that she had the helmet and now she's Sarah Sinclair. She's the one that set up Lia's time. So if she's working with Noah, what if something slipped and she was talking about you and the girl in the hotel room heard so much about you and assumed it was going to be you? Because even though Noah called Bryan to set up his meeting,
right,
that doesn't mean that they're not all in the same room. Or maybe Noah was talking about you because if Sabrina is Sarah,
right,
what if she was like, "Russell, what about Russell?" Or, and so he mentioned it probably angrily to that girl.
And she had just seen me at the book release.
Right. So what if that's why?
Wow, I think that's a bit of a reach, but I see why you're going there.
Yeah.
And what I chose to do, Mike, is I thought, like, well, I should let people know about this, but Bryan, I think, had a good point in the fact that it seemed like a mistake, maybe, that my name was mentioned to Bryan. So, or at least that's the way I interpreted it. That's not what Bryan said. I interpreted it that way.
Where is the paranoia that I'm expecting from you right now? Where did it go?
It hasn't happened yet. So I chose not to post this on the forums. And it's not that I'm trying to hide it, but what I was wondering was if my name was mentioned that night, if something was going to happen. And I would get a phone call or somebody would reach out to me. If that woman knew my name in the hotel, would she call me for any reason or try to find me for some reason? So that's why I chose not to mention it on the forums. But, now some time has passed. I think it should be known that happened to Bryan, that another name was mentioned.
I'm sorry, I'm cracking up because I just got this vision in my head because I'm very mature, obviously. And
yes.
Since this is Lust, being what we know about Noah, what he wants us to know about his attitude, what if he was the guy in the hotel room and while he was, doing this prostitute, he was like, "Call me Russell, call me Russell." And so that's why she's like, "Are you Russell?"
Wow. I'm speechless.
Everybody listening to this right now, please picture Noah Sinclair doing that.
No, don't. Don't picture that.
This is revenge for the lust sound effect.
Rainbows, unicorns, people. Rainbows and unicorns. Concentrate. Hear my voice. Rainbows and unicorns. Wow. Damn you.
Oh, man. Oh, sometimes those ideas.
You are twisted. So, but yeah, Bryan just wanted to make me aware, and I think just partially to be aware, and partially, I think a little bit as a warning.
Well, yeah, plus it's respectful.
Yes, I would think so. When a prostitute mentions a friend's name, to let them know that you're on her mind? What do you mean? So, Mike, going back to Lia, because that's sort of how Bryan's night ended with the Darren Bousman confusion and that quick conversation with Darren, but Lia's was still meeting with Noah.
Right. So after the phone call to Bryan, he started questioning her about some things, like, what's keeping you from getting what you want? Like, kind of like basically self-help type questions.
Right.
Like, what's holding you back? So they had a little chat about that, and then he offered her a Tic Tac, and she made a joke about Juno, because Michael Cera's character is the only person she knows that eats orange Tic Tacs, and I guess he was like, Noah Sinclair eats orange Tic Tacs as well, or something like that. But he told her, all right, you're definitely in, thank you for your time, look forward to seeing you again, and left.
Right.
And that was that. And I guess when the waiter came back, he refilled Noah's glass, and Lia told him, I was like, oh, I think he left. And the waiter seemed confused. So I don't know if maybe like Noah tipped the waiter a bunch, like, hey, keep him coming. Like, I'll let you know when I leave, or something like that.
Did Noah walk out on the bill?
Oh, damn. Wow. I mean, I don't think so, because we would have heard about that.
Yeah, probably.
But
Lia would have had to have cleaned that mess up.
Yeah, that would be messed up.
Oh, that would be a dick move.
Yeah. So we mentioned earlier that both Bryan and Lia did a post-meeting Periscope. That's important in a couple of days, and we'll get to that. But the very next day, just to rub salt in the wound of Bryan, there was a picture posted on Lust's Facebook page, and it was a picture of apparently the book that Darren asked him about, and it was underneath some other stuff, and the caption, missed opportunities.
Right.
Ouch. So who knows what could have happened if Bryan found that book.
Right.
Like, what was in it? Maybe it was a bunch of Latin phrases to turn off Noah. Who knows? Then the next day, the Lust Experience Facebook posts something else. It's a mashup of Bryan and Lia's Periscope videos, and it's used as a recruitment video to join the Lust Experience.
Right.
Which is funny, because in the beginning of Tension, there were also videos.
Yes, there were.
Except they were altered. These don't seem to be altered.
Right.
Which is cool. But yeah, man, Lust is started.
With a bang.
Pun intended?
Yes, pun intended.
You stole it from me from earlier, but it's fine.
Yes, that's fine.
Get your own puns. But man, that, like,
the idea of this multiple event thing happening in multiple locations at the same time, and the coordination, like wow, I was really impressed.
Yeah, like, if this is the way it's going, like this hard and this fast, but
I'm not gonna touch it. That's what she
never
said.
Mind. But seriously, like this is like, things are ramped up like by a ton, like straight out the gate. Like, this is awesome. And actually, Russell, another shadow person emerged.
Yes.
Shadow Buzz.
Mm-hmm.
Which, awesome.
I'm really curious as to where these things are going to lead.
Yeah.
Because the fact that some are coming and going, some are coming and staying, some are posting, some are not.
But the thing is, people are already getting confused on the forums.
Yes.
Because people keep tagging Shadow Bryan.
Yes, they do.
Which, if you want to cause disruption,
right,
that's the way to do it.
Because at some point, someone's going to have information that's going to go to the wrong person.
Yeah, exactly. And Shadow Buzz sounds just like Buzz as well, you know? And like Shadow Buzz was replying to someone and said, first off, you're not wrong. Things go pretty fast around here. Second, I don't think you need to be on the boards every second of every day to enjoy the experience. I jumped in and out last year and was still able to follow along. I think all of us just get a little excited and go off. Also, Tension did not have anything confirmed as super paranormal on their first run. So as far as I'm concerned, the only things we've seen that are confirmed so far is we had a possible self-help guru contact some people and do some dirt. That dude loves himself some Egypt and quantum science. The forums are acting strange and weird imposters and hybrid lovebird accounts or something. Whatever, Shadow Buzz. I know that's directed at Russell and I. And Bryan is a baller. So if all this goes into Tinkerbell land of believing wishes to be true, then I might dip. So shadow people, sad, pathetic, fake news. So you know something? Reading this right now out loud, it made me think of something. Early on in Tension, we had light to dark, which light to dark, I mean, that metaphor to what's happening right now, that's another can of worms. But with this, light to dark was always there to help guide us, you know, a little bit. I almost feel like these shadow people, these shadow profiles are doing that. They're kind of like guiding us. So maybe there's not a light to dark, but there's shadow accounts because Shadow Buzz is replying to someone new on the board asking questions about it. You know,
but sounding similar to the real people. I mean, the one that posted, you know, from the Mike Eaton sounds like me. Are you saying that sounds more like a reflection of the real person?
No. I'm saying that these are, instead of having specific accounts, like there's no light to dark, there's shadow profiles here to help.
Oh, interesting.
Because that's what it seems like when reading the Buzz one right now. Like that's what instantly clicks. Like, oh, he's helping a newbie, like get acclimated. Like that. Oh, wait a minute. You know, like, I don't know. So that's just another theory.
I think it's a good one.
Yeah. And earlier we mentioned that the fake Bryan was talking about the panel that he moderated at South by Southwest and getting that podcast or that recording out. He did that, and it's a really good listen. If you're interested in what happened in the Tension experience or where things are going with the Lust experience or just want to hear some backstage type antics, give it a listen. We'll have the link to this in our show notes. So that's all the fun that's happened since the last podcast.
Yeah,
but
which wasn't like, that long ago, actually.
And this is major fun.
Yeah.
Like this is, I mean, in-person experiences are happening and...
You and your theories, dude.
Hey, it's what I do. But if you want to follow along with the Lust Experience and these zany adventures, you can find them on the web at thelustexperience.com, on Facebook, The Lust Experience, on Instagram, The Lust Experience, on Twitter, Lust_experience, and noahsinclair.com. And if you want to get more information on us, you can contact us at mike@myhauntlife.com or russell@myhauntlife.com with 2 S's and 2 L's. Find us on the web at myhauntlife.com, and all the social media fun is at myhauntlife. Don't forget, we have the My Haunt Life calendar at myhauntlife.com/calendar, and also the forums, myhauntlife.com/forums. Also, not to forget, we have the My Haunt Life hauntline. You can give us a call or shoot us a text at 515-HAUNT-LA. So this has been a lustful podcast. Thank you for listening. I'm Mike.
And I'm Russell.
See ya.
Wait, we're going to leave that in?
That's what she said.